the world will ask you who you are. They
Yeah.
will ask you, and that's how our world is, good, bad, or indifferent. But if you don't know the answer, the world is going to tell you. Good morning.
Very good to see you. I am so excited to have you as my guest today. U.S. Army Sergeant Major,
Oh yeah.
retired, yes, turned professional speaker, author, youth development coach, and owner at Sergeant Roy's Intentional Leadership. My goodness,
Absolutely.
how did all of that happen?
Well, I did 36 years in the military. They had to kick me out because, I'm older than the colonel. The colonel looks like a teenager to me, so that's time to get out. You know? But I did a lot of years in the military, and unbeknownst to me, I did go to college. And here's the irony of it all is that I grew up in New York at my parents worked at the famous West Point Military Academy in New York. And my impression of the military, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. Nothing. It's
Yes.
just ridiculous. I saw that and I saw the cadets running around. I'm like, who would sign up for this? This is ridiculous. But I did 2 years of college and I had a music degree. I couldn't do anything with it. So I said, I remember I married my college sweetheart and I said, check out this Army thing. It's next, I'm on a bus bound to basic training. And I remember my first day in the Army. I was sitting out there at 5 o'clock in the morning, thinking I ruined my entire life, not not knowing it was the best decision I ever made. Because at the end of it all, I met so many wonderful people. I've gone to so many places. I've done so many great things, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah.
So that's how it all came about. And just by being inspired by that whole journey, I said. It's one thing about military people. Anyone will tell you it's such a different type of culture. It's more positive than it is negative. And so now that I'm a civilian now, I'm in civilian clothes now. I miss that. So I try to bring a little bit of that to my relationships, to my connections with people, and then I love inspiring people, motivating people. That was the best part of my career, is being able to, because I shared with you earlier, I was a drill instructor at one point, and it was, oh gosh, man, it was just so inspiring to see these young individuals come in and just transform into these great people. And
Yes.
comical too. Some of them didn't have any confidence, they didn't have any stability, and now they ended up being great people, and some of them I still hear from today. So it's awesome.
That is so amazing. So you were talking about how these experiences, especially when you were younger and in the army, how this shaped your identity. What is identity to you?
Well, it's kind of a simple thing. I kind of have this mantra, like, if the world will ask you who you are, they
Yeah.
will ask you, and that's how our world is, good, bad, or indifferent. But if you don't know the answer, the world is going to tell you, and
Yes.
I don't like that. I don't
Yes.
like that. And because I know I grew up, and I think you and I are from the same planet. Yeah, I always have a heart for those kids that were, let's say, different.
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
because I grew up in a sports town, and I did play. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", 260 pounds, and I tried athletics, but I love music and I love art and I love talking to people. So there was my group, my demographic group was very small, or people like us were called weirdos.
Yes, yes. It's almost like we can do many things fairly okay, and you'd
Yeah,
think that you fit in easily and quickly because of that, but quite the opposite. You
it is
quite the
quite the opposite.
oddball, yes.
Yeah, and I was bullied too as a kid. I was not. I wish I was this big when I was in high school, but I was a little skinny guy, and I didn't. I guess I didn't like having people telling me who I should be and what I want to be. So I kind of rebelled a little bit. and kind of broke out of those stereotypes, and just really through just experimentation, I realized that people, cultures, man, this is a lot of fun. There was just so much to experience,
Mm.
and the only way I was going to be able to experience is to get out of that box. To have my own identity, and I felt, I also the payoff was that as I opened up and extended myself to people and situations, there was such a reward.
Yes.
It was just like a something. It was just so enticing. It just kept bringing me back, bringing me back. I said,
Yes.
man, this is great.
Yes.
So it worked. So
When you tap into who you really are, it
yeah,
works. Yes.
yeah.
And what
And the
what
sad
that
part is,
does, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and the sad part is that it kind of saddens me a little bit because when I work with young people, or I work with individuals, or even men, it just saddens me when people don't know who they are. They don't really know. And when I have conversations with people, I may be in an airport, I may be in a restaurant, and I strike up a conversation with a person, and I'm like, oh, and they share their lives with me about things, and some things come out, and I say, well, wow, you have a gifting for that. Why did you ever thought about pursuing that? And they're like, oh no, I just didn't want to, or whatever. And I'm like, oh boy, that really gets me fired up, man, because I turn it automatically. I put on my coach hat and I push people out there, discover themselves. And it's a shame because we live in a world today where uh, the people that get the most attention are the people who are, the most prettiest or have a talent or whatever. And those things are really superficial things. But that's
Yes.
why I'm really happy about the social media now, because with social media now, a lot of people, average people, are coming out of the woodwork, and these are
Yes.
fascinating people. I mean,
Yes.
finally, the people they give us, the Hollywood is giving us, or the movie industry is giving, these people are not great. I mean,
Yes.
you put a camera on. My wife watches this lady on Netflix, no, on YouTube,
Yeah.
and we've been watching her for 2 3 years now, and all she does is talk about cleaning her house, and we are just fascinated by that.
And the fascination is in the honesty and the simplicity and the
Absolutely.
absolute joy with which she does that. I mean,
Yeah,
if
she
you can
loves
talk for
her
years
house.
on end about cleaning your house, then you
Yeah.
must have a passion for it.
Yeah, and I think that's the draw, because she's like a top person on YouTube, but she loves her house. Her and her husband, they fix up their house. They do all this repairs around the house, and if you watch the beginning of the show, they just had like a trailer they lived in, but now the thing's a showcase. I mean, the thing is gorgeous, and I just come in there, and it just dawned on me. I said, "What is the attraction to this?" And it's like you just said, people, she has a passion for what she's doing, and she's honest, and she's real, and that's kind of like, I think, what people are really looking for today. We're starting to wake up to that,
Yes.
you
Yes,
know.
absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned earlier that you love pushing people to or helping them discover themselves, which
Mhm.
is the beginning of identity and knowing who I am and being okay with that. How do you do that?
Well, one of the things I'm a believer in Christ, and I believe that
Okay.
everybody is unique in their own person. I believe that God's created everybody uniquely, and there's no carbon copies.
Yes.
I tell a joke of people. I said, I'm a nutcase. I said, when God made me, He broke the mold twice. Okay. He said, when He made you, Heidi, He broke the mold twice. He said, I can't have two of these running around. I can't have it.
Yeah, this
And
is
I
a
I
limited
think
edition.
there's only one of you, and that's all we need. We can't have a bunch of the Heidis running around, because it would blow the world up. But anyway, but when you sit there and get people, I think, we live in a world where people are not really meant to be, connected to their identity. They're given an identity. You have to kind of be like someone or copy someone to get noticed. And I remember growing up as a kid, that I grew up in a sports town, and the only way you got attention, let me back up. I did grow up in a sports town, but my younger brother got a scholarship for basketball, and he played for a major university, and people were over at our house. He was like a rock star,
Yeah.
just because he played basketball, and all my
Yeah.
friends were coming over, and I'm like, "Hey man, what's up?" He says, "Your brother here?" I'm like, "Oh man," you know.
Mm.
Um, but the thing is that people, how I help people get there is just to share with me. I believe that people have their identity when they're really young, but somehow it's stolen from them as time goes
Yes.
on, they get
Yes.
older. It's
Yeah.
stolen from you. You have to be like somebody or someone or something to get noticed or have some type of notoriety, and that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true at all. I think some of the most fabulous people I've met are people that know who they are. They're confident of who they are, and you're not going to change them from that.
Yeah.
And then really in some cases the people that they admire, the people that are really uh, comfortable with their identity are the ones that are they're confident who they are. You're not going to tell them
Yeah.
otherwise. So
Yes.
the goal is a lot of times to sit back and just get people to get. I try to walk people down this trail of like, hey, building. It's like I consider it like weight training. I used to be a
Mm.
personal trainer, and the worst any personal trainer will tell you when you have a client, the first 2 weeks is the roughest time for to have a client because they complain, their arms hurt, they don't want to do the workout, they're angry, they just, can I skip a day? So I had to do a lot of what I call intentional lying.
Yes.
You're doing
Yes.
great.
Yes.
You're
It's
doing
for the
great.
greater good. You have to.
Yeah, yeah. And I try to get, but when I get them through that 2 week gestation period, oh my goodness, man, they're like rock stars. You
Yes.
know, Yeah, I mean, even when I was a drill sergeant and the U.S. Army, the Army, we train male and female together in basic training, and I volunteered to train the females because I thought it was a bit of a challenge. And the females they get out there and they're just like, oh, I can't do this, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
you should hear my pep talks in the barracks. I'm telling the females, when you go downstairs, you better not act like a girl. You better finish and they're like yes, drill sergeant. I said, get that sugar out of your britches, come on, let's go, we got to go.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
build them up, and like for example, females are very detailed oriented.
Yes.
So when we teach rifle marksmanship, the females, they will ask me every question in the book about that rifle. And I'm just, oh my gosh, but I answer the questions. But
Yes.
on qualification day is the funniest thing. 9 times out of 10 they outshoot the males.
Yes.
It's
Because that
unbelievable.
attention to detail really matters. It's
It
like
does
something
matter.
clicks in our minds and that
Yeah.
propels us to do better.
Yeah. And they do better. And they sit there and this little short little 5'2" little lady sitting there. Did I do it right? I'm like, you can do it right. You got an expert.
That
you
is
know.
amazing. Yes.
But it also works this way when we go on road marches. Like I'm 6'2" and we go on road marches. I'm taking a small little female. She's taking 3 steps to my 1 step on the road
Yes.
march. And they
Yes.
get upset, but I pull them to the side and say, listen, all you got to do is finish. Those guys will respect you. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to
Yes.
be the strongest. Finish. And when you
Yes.
finish, you gain so much respect. So it's changing that vernacular in their mind about you don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the fastest or whatever, but the quality is in your commitment to what you're doing.
That's right. And that is
Yeah.
so important because when you know who you are and you settled in your identity, you start doing things with more confidence and
Yeah.
you invest more of yourself in whatever the thing is, even
Yeah.
if it's learning a weapon, learning
Yeah.
a rifle.
Yeah.
And then as you move forward and you complete tasks and you do your best and you work towards the endurance part of this, seeing a thing through, that again feeds into confidence, doesn't
It
it?
does. Because I tell people, confidence is not about being right. It's
Yeah.
about the fear of not being wrong.
Yes.
So so
Yes.
that's how you build confidence. It's not that I want to be right. That people think confidence is this person walking around doing everything perfect. That's not
Yeah.
confidence.
Yes.
Confidence is that you're willing to be wrong just to learn. just to learn. So, confident people are, individuals that are not afraid to be wrong. And that's
That's
how you gain knowledge. That's how you gain experience. That's how you build confidence, you know?
I think that's also for me with my performance and my working in television and on stage and so on. Um, People sometimes think that if you have confidence to do that, then you have confidence in real life. And I've seen so many of my colleagues and so on who do not have confidence. And I think that's where we now hit the nail on the head. It's the thing of preparing, it's the thing of committing. Not that I'm perfect, I mean, I'm far from it. But commitment and seeing a thing through and preparation and that
Mhm.
fire that we also spoke about when you and I had our chat previously, the fire inside, the commitment, the willingness to do what you have to do, to be amped for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, even like with your experiences, I tell people, when people look at people like you, I said, you don't look at her achievements. That what you see is the results of a whole bunch of accidents that
Yes,
happen.
yes.
That's how you look at creative people. They're not people that sat back and did this perfect thing and produced this perfect thing. They derive from a whole bunch of experiments and accidents. And when I was teaching, I had instructors coming to me. How do you put your presentation together? You must really think it out. I said, no. There was just one day I had this crazy thought. I just threw it out there and it clicked.
Yes.
That's how it is. I was I still like I love music. Like they said, one of the Beatles songs, they would get in the studio and they would just experiment. And the music you hear today, they're just from a whole bunch of mistakes and experiments. It's
Yes.
not perfection. It has nothing to do with it. But if you want, and that's how you build confidence, because you have to what's the word I'm looking for, you have to have courage to go out, you
Mm,
have to step out, and that's what
yes.
gives you the confidence, because I'm sure there were days where you just blew it, it went in the tank. There were days that you made decisions and
Absolutely.
it just didn't work.
Yes.
However, but the stuff that did work, that's part of your collection now, that's part of your resume now, that's the stuff
Yes.
that you can hang your hat on. But that came through courage, that came through experimentation.
And from learning from the mistakes. We
Yeah.
just don't, I don't show people my mistakes. Goodness, we'll be very busy. We'll have a whole YouTube channel for that. So obviously we don't show people the mistakes, but the mistakes play such a big part in
Mhm.
the results that are positive and desirable in the end.
Well, people have to learn about mistakes, and mistakes are life lessons. When I'm working with, when I was in the military, I worked with young soldiers, and I would work with leadership and people that work for me. They said, "Oh my gosh, I got to go and talk to my supervisor. I made a mistake." And I said, "Listen, any supervisor would appreciate your honesty if you go in there and explain what was your intent. If
Yes.
you can speak intelligently to what you were trying to do." And that's one thing the military taught me. We live in a world today where people just complain and they just leave a turd sandwich on your lap and walk out of the room. No, I would challenge the people that work for me, and I was challenged in the same way, that you have a problem. Okay, what's the problem? Now, before you leave, you have to tell me what are your recommendations to
Mhm.
solve the problem.
Yes.
Also, what do you think caused the problem? And then thirdly, what do you think is the root cause analysis so the problem doesn't happen again? You have to think systematically like that. And people don't understand that leadership, they appreciate that kind of thinking, because they think these people that are in charge, they sit in their big desk with a cigar and they make these decisions.
Yes.
They
Yes.
don't do that. They don't do that. They have a kind of a group of leaders around there that are helping them make those decisions.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Nobody can function optimally on their own. Nobody can be a great leader on their own.
no, no way.
Nobody.
Yeah,
Lone
you can look
rangers
at
get shot. That's
yeah,
what
you can
I've
look at
learned.
history, Caesar, all the great
Yeah.
leaders throughout the period of time. They had great individuals around them. So I tell the people that work for me, I say, if you're gonna make a mistake, make a good one.
Yeah.
You know? Man, I say, hey, when I come in here, I'll make a mistake. I'm gonna blow it out of the water.
Be spectacular about
Yeah.
it.
But here's the thing where I protect my integrity is that I can speak to it intelligently.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's the thing that it kind of, gets me the respect because when I do, we all make mistakes and there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. But if you can explain your intent and what you're trying to achieve, no problem. It's too easy. It really is.
And learn from it and doing it better next time,
Yeah.
improving on yourself. And also I
Yeah.
find when you work for yourself, like I do with this part of my life, you
Mhm.
have to monitor yourself and ask
Yeah.
yourself the question, who am I when I'm home? How am I growing and how am I getting better? How am I learning? And we all have a responsibility, I think, to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's like you and I were talking about before. You got to put yourself in a real good circle of
Mm,
support because uh, honestly, when people, you got to be able to handle criticism, you
mm,
know, and once you understand the difference between criticism and just downright just being mean and
mm.
critical of somebody, you'll know after a while, the difference,
Yeah.
because there were, people in my life that were like very gave me constructive criticism and it made me better. No
Yes.
problem. But there were people that were like, just mean and they didn't care. They were out for my demise. They were out for me to
Yeah.
fail. Because I
Yeah.
like how the pastor, T.D. Jakes, used to say there's only three kinds of people. You have comrades, constituents, and confidants. He said, comrades, they're working alongside you,
Yes.
but first chance to get to throw you under the bus, they're going to throw you
Yeah.
under the bus.
Yes. We know that
Constituents,
one. In South
that's
Africa,
right.
we know that one.
That's right. And constituents, hey, they don't really have too much invested in the relationship with you, but they're competing with you. But
Yes.
confidants are the people that they know everything about you, they know all your bad stuff, but they support you and they cheer you on. And the problem is with those three types of people, everybody they bring those in as friends, and they're not supposed to be.
Oh,
You
yes,
know,
that is so important. Yes, know the difference.
know the
That
difference.
discernment.
Yeah, because I had my son when my son was getting older. He's kind of like me, and when he was a young man, and there was one day he makes everybody a friend, and it
Yeah.
was one day he was bullied, he was just so upset, and I said, "Listen, you can't take everybody with you." I said, "You're on a path for greatness." I tell both my children that you're on a path
Yes.
for greatness, whether you want to be or not. Especially if you're in my camp you know
Yes.
but you can't take you have to accept your friends, and they're not on the same path that you're going. So um but you just have to be able to have the courage, because sometimes one of the things people have to learn, and it's only for a season, you got to learn how to be by yourself
Oh,
sometimes.
yes. It's very important. You have to
Yeah,
have moments with yourself. You have
by
to be
yourself. You
able to
don't really
like
need the
yourself.
validation of the crowd all the time. You really don't. And that's one of the things I even had to learn as a leader, because when I started becoming a leader in the military, there were a lot of moments I was by myself, because I remember before I got promoted, I was hanging out with the guys, and I was one of the guys that, this and that. And then I got promoted. Now I became them.
Yeah.
I had a hard transition, because it was like, oh wow, I'm a good guy, but
Yeah.
no, I was selected for leadership, and they
Yes.
had to respect my position, and I had to, and respect them. Daddy can't take a bath with the children anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
So because we
so
grew, we are not the same people as we were before the
right.
transition happened. Yeah. Yeah.
But the people that come in and out of your life, the way you can tell that they support you, if they, I tell people in your circles, it should be a circle of support where everybody supports you and you support them.
Yes.
But if you're in a circle where people are kind of putting down, shooting you down, and putting your dreams down, and just quenching your enthusiasm, man, you need a new circle. You got to go. you
And
gotta
that
you gotta
is
get a new
true.
circle.
That is true. You need a new circle. And what is the other thing that you said to me the other day when we spoke? If you are the smartest one in your circle?
Oh yeah, if you're the smartest one, you need to get it. You get a new circle.
Yeah, absolutely. That
You know,
it's in the
because
same area of thinking is this thing of, but being able to uplift each other and to mean something to each other.
right, because it's a Christian principle as well. The people that are
Yes,
around you are to encourage you, bless you, uh, share in your achievements and also your disappointments. And that's a comfortable circle to be in. I think sometimes people make the mistake of bringing everybody in, and you can't do that. I even had to learn that at a young age too, because during my years of leadership in the military, I did get stabbed in the back a couple of times, and it was hard. It was heart wrenching for a while, but it was good for me. It woke me up, to realize that, oh, okay, you're Sergeant Roy. You got a great personality. I was everybody's friend. I just wanted everybody to
yeah,
like me.
yeah.
But I had to take the hard road because that's not what leadership is. Leadership is not about
That's
getting
it.
everybody to like you,
That's it.
and like what
That's
you do. And I had to make some hard decisions and as a leader, and that's what my main focus is. Not to get. It's not a popularity contest.
that's true. Yes.
You know.
What gets you excited? What gets you fired up? What gets you ready for the day?
All right, watch it, Heidi. Watch it. Watch it. 'Cause I, well, first of all, the topic what we're
Coffee.
talking about, because uh, I love talking about um, God. Let's see if I can shorten this up. But there was a time in my life where, like I said, I'm a believer in Christ and God, and I used to struggle with God. There's just billions of people on this planet. How do you know I'm here?
Yeah,
How do you know I'm here?
yeah.
And I think that's a fair question. I said, God, I mean, I got overwhelmed by that thought at one time
Yes,
because I'm like, okay, you're God, but I see everybody's praying and doing their thing. And how do
yes,
you know I'm just a little speck out there?
yes.
And that's where my faith came into play because when I got to know the character of God is that he says we are wonderfully made. He knew us before we were born. He
Mm,
knows how many hairs are on our head. He knows. And that type of foreknowledge, we don't have that capability. So if I were able to draw a circle, I put two dots in that circle. That's me and you, Heidi. That's our limitations. But God is outside that circle because if he's in that circle, he's not God anymore.
yeah,
So he's outside that circle. So he has that type of foreknowledge. He even told Abraham, I'm going to make your nation as many as the grains of sand on the sea, on the
yeah,
seashore. And I'm like, wow. So with that understanding, I realized that God knows that I'm here. I
yeah,
have a purpose
yeah,
and I have a meaning to my life. Because there's four major questions that people really want to know. And that is origin, where did I come from?
yeah,
Meaning, what's the purpose of my life?
yeah,
Morality, what's right or wrong?
yeah.
And then lastly, destiny, what happens when I die? What's the purpose of my life?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So I believe that God answers all those four major questions. So when I wake up, I'm not just here just sucking up air and eating donuts.
Mm.
You know, my life. I
Yes.
don't care if you're in the Congo. I don't care if you're in Korea or Spain or Europe or South Africa. Every life has a purpose. And there are people that argue, well, what about those people that are handicapped or whatever? That's your perception of what I'm talking about, God's perception. Because he says, and I'll talk about it later, I wrote a book called Broken Things.
Mm.
And in my book, I write about how God takes what we consider broken things and broken situations and broken people. And that's how he shows, he proves that he's God. That's how he, shows the world that he's still in charge. He doesn't use the strongest or the prettiest or
Yes.
those who have the most resources. He uses things that we think are rubbish, and I
Yes.
think that is so cool. So, with that being said, if he can use rubbish, he can use me. So,
Yes.
so he has
Yes.
he has a calling on your life. You wake up every day. You live every day. When I went to Iraq, I was there in 2007. I was there for a year, and I was in a combat unit. And there was a couple of times I didn't think I was going to come home,
Ooh,
and
yes.
there was a couple of hot situations, but I came back with a different perspective. I said, you know what? I'm going to live every day on purpose.
Yeah.
Every
Yes.
day on purpose. You know,
Yes.
I don't care if all you do is go down to the mailbox and get your mail. That's a good day. You know, every day's a
Amazing.
gift. Every
Yes.
day's a gift.
Yes.
Now going. You got
Exactly.
me going, Heidi. I'm ready to go run around and do some
I'm
push-ups.
so excited that I got you going.
I got goosebumps. I
We're
got
gonna have to
goosebumps
have
going.
another chat. We're just gonna have to have another chat.
You
Our
got me
time
going
is
on because
up
I
for
said you and
this
I are from the same.
round,
We're from the
but
same planet.
we are from the same planet. We are the one with the other axis,
Yeah, yeah. Where they
differently
go the other way.
axised people.
I told you when God made you, He broke the mold twice. I can't have a bunch of these running around.
Bless you and thank you so much for today. Baie dankie vir vandag. That is thank you for today in
Oh
Afrikaans, my
wow. Oh,
language.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah, and ons kuier gou weer. I hope we can have another conversation very soon. Thank